Hello, friends. If you are on Medicare or you are managing a drug plan for a loved one, what I am about to tell you will change how you look at your bank account for the rest of your life. Imagine walking up to your local pharmacy counter next January to pick up a life-saving blood thinner or a brand name inhaler. Normally, you dread this visit because you know the pharmacist is about to look you in the eye and ask for a $600 deductible right there on the spot. But instead, your total out-of-pocket costs are legally cut off at the root. For millions of seniors across the country, the dreaded insurance donut hole has been permanently destroyed and replaced by a hard, legal $2,000 limit for the year 2026. Nobody at the Social Security Administration is going to call your house to explain this. Your private insurance company certainly is not going to hold your hand and point out the hidden traps that can disqualify you, or the optional payment program you have to manually opt into if you want to spread those costs out evenly over 12 months. Before we go a single step further, I want to be perfectly clear right from the start. This is not a physical $2,000 stimulus check mailed to your house by the IRS. This is a federal limit on what private pharmacies and insurance plans are allowed to charge you under the Inflation Reduction Act. It is a shield designed to keep thousands of dollars of your own hard-earned money safely inside your bank account where it belongs. By the time we finish our talk today, you will know exactly how this new limit works, which high-cost medications are secretly excluded from the protection, and the exact process to activate a program that stops you from ever paying a massive surprise pharmacy bill in January ever again. I am also going to reveal what I call the Extra Help Override, which is a completely separate program that can smash that $2,000 limit all the way down to just a few $100 for the entire calendar year. Now, rules like this change every single year, and the government does a terrible job of explaining your actual options. The seniors who subscribe to this channel find out about these changes in time to protect themselves, while everyone else usually finds out after their money is already gone. Take 1 second right now to subscribe to this channel so you never miss a real factual update that impacts your retirement check. Let us start with how this landmark $2,000 cap actually functions in the real world. If you are enrolled in a standalone Medicare Part D prescription drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan that includes drug coverage, you qualify for this protection automatically. Under the new law, the entire catastrophic phase of Medicare Part D has been redesigned from scratch. In 2026, your true out-of-pocket spending for covered medications is legally capped at exactly $2,000. Once your copays reach that threshold, you owe $0 at the counter for the rest of the calendar year. To make sure you actually get this benefit without a hitch, you need to follow 4 basic steps right now. First, gather every single one of your prescription pill bottles from your cabinet. Second, log on to the official website at medicare.gov and open up their Plan Finder tool. Third, type in your exact dosages to verify that your current insurance plan still lists those specific drugs on their formulary for 2026. Finally, keep track of your pharmacy receipts starting on January 1st. Once your out-of-pocket copays hit that $2,000 mark, your plan must cover 100% of your covered drug costs through December 31st. To see what this looks like for a real family, consider a senior like Richard, a 74-year-old living in Ohio. Richard takes Eliquis for his heart and relies on a brand name inhaler for his breathing. In the past, those 2 brand name medications cost him roughly $600 every single month at the start of the year. When you multiply $600 by 12 months, his retail medication cost hits $7,200 a year. Under this new rule, Richard pays his standard copays only until he hits the $2,000 line, which happens around April. From May all the way through December, his copays drop straight to $0. That is an annual savings of $5,200 that stays in Richard's pocket. Over 5 years of retirement, Richard retains $26,000 in his personal retirement account instead of handing it over to big pharmaceutical corporations. You do need to look closely at your specific type of coverage, though. If you have a standalone Part D prescription plan paired with original Medicare, or if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, the $2,000 limit strictly applies only to the pharmacy prescription portion of your plan. It does not apply to your doctor visit copays, your hospital deductibles, or your dental coverage. But before you celebrate keeping that money, you must understand the biggest trap insurance companies use to bypass this cap entirely, which brings us to the strict line between different parts of Medicare. The $2,000 cap only applies to what the government defines as covered Part D drugs. It does not apply to medicines billed under Part B, which are medications administered directly inside a doctor's office, an outpatient clinic, or an infusion center. It also completely excludes any drug that is not listed on your specific insurance plan's approved list, known as a formulary. If you take specialized infusions, advanced cancer therapies, or any medication prescribed off-label, you are highly vulnerable to this gap. To protect yourself from this specific trap, you must take these steps systematically. First, read your plan's annual notice of change letter, which arrives in your mailbox before the start of the year. Second, check the specific formulary section of that document to ensure your insurance company hasn't quietly dropped your medication for the upcoming year. Third, if you receive any type of infusion or injection at a medical clinic, ask your specialist directly, is this specific medication billed to Medicare Part B or Medicare Part D? Or Medicare Part D. Fourth, if they tell you it is billed under Part B, you must secure supplemental coverage, such as a Medigap policy, because the $2,000 prescription cap will not protect you from those clinic bills. Let us look at Mary, a 69-year-old resident in Florida, to see how dangerous this trap can be. Mary takes an experimental, off-label oral medication for her severe arthritis, and she also receives a specialized bone density infusion once a month at her local clinic. Her off-label pills cost $300 a month, and the monthly clinic infusion retails at $2,000. Because the infusion is administered in a clinic, it is billed to Medicare Part B, which leaves her with a 20% coinsurance payment of $400 a month. Combined, Mary faces $700 every month in medication expenses. Because her off-label pills are not on the Part D formulary, and her infusion is a Part B medical service, neither of those costs count toward the $2,000 cap. Mary is forced to pay the full $8,400 for the year out of her own pocket. Your exposure to this trap depends heavily on your exact insurance setup. A senior who carries original Medicare along with the supplemental Medigap Plan G will have that 20% Part B clinic copay fully covered by their Medigap policy, which completely neutralizes the financial risk of high-cost clinic infusions. On the flip side, a senior enrolled in a standard Medicare Advantage plan must bear the brunt of that 20% Part B drug cost entirely on their own until they hit their plan's maximum out-of-pocket limit for medical services. If your medications are properly covered under Part D, you still face a massive real-world problem. What happens if you cannot afford to pay that $2,000 amount as a big lump sum right away in the month of January? That is where the brand new Medicare Prescription Payment Plan comes into play, which experts often refer to as the M3 P-smoothing program. This is a voluntary system designed specifically for any senior who takes high-cost medications early in the calendar year and lives on a strict fixed monthly retirement income. Instead of forcing you to pay massive budget-breaking copays directly at the pharmacy register, this program allows you to legally spread your out-of-pocket drug costs over the course of the entire calendar year. You leave the pharmacy counter without paying a single cent, and the insurance company sends you a predictable monthly invoice instead. To set this up, you have to be proactive because it does not happen automatically. First, do not wait until you are standing in line at the pharmacy counter with your medication in hand. Call the customer service number on the back of your Part D insurance card directly. Second, state these exact words to the representative. I want to opt into the Medicare Prescription Payment Plan. Third, head to your pharmacy to pick up your regular medications, where your upfront cost will ring up as exactly $0. Fourth, monitor your mailbox for a separate monthly statement from your insurance provider that breaks down your actual costs into predictable installments. To understand the immense relief this creates, let us look at John, a 71-year-old retired mechanic in Texas. John was prescribed an advanced oral cancer medication that carries a copay of exactly $2,000 for the very first bottle of the year on January 5th. Without this smoothing program, John would have to drain his entire checking account right after New Year's Day just to stay alive, leaving him with nothing for food or housing. By opting into the M3 P program prior to January 1st, that $2,000 cap is legally divided over 12 months. coming out to exactly $166.66 per month. John walks out of the pharmacy with his medicine for $0 down, retaining $1,833 in his checking account to maintain his monthly liquidity for bills, mortgage payments, and groceries. The math behind this program does vary depending on the exact month you choose to enroll. If you enroll in January, your accumulated costs are divided by all 12 months of the year. However, if you remain healthy for the first half of the year, but find yourself facing a high-cost prescription in July, enrolling at that point means your total costs will be divided only by the remaining 6 months of the calendar year, which would make that same $2,000 cap break down into monthly payments of $333.33. While you are managing these monthly pharmacy statements, you also need to know about the major preventative medical items that you should never have to pay a single dime for under any circumstances. This is the completely free vaccine loophole. Any senior enrolled in a standard Medicare Part D plan who requires the shingles, RSV, or Tdap vaccine qualifies for this total cost exemption. Under the federal law, all cost-sharing requirements have been completely eliminated for adult vaccines that are formally recommended by the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. These specific preventative shots cost you nothing up front. They carry no hidden deductibles, and they do not count toward your $2,000 annual out-of-pocket maximum. To claim this benefit safely, follow these 4 simple steps. First, consult your primary care doctor to confirm you need the 2-dose Shingrix vaccine or the new RSV shot. Second, walk into an approved in-network pharmacy rather than an uncoordinated, out-of-network specialty clinic. Third, hand your physical Part D prescription card directly to the pharmacy technician before they prepare the injection. Fourth, verify that the computer register displays an absolute balance of $0 and 0 cents before the pharmacist administers the shot. Consider the case of Susan, a 66-year-old grandmother living in Arizona. Susan decided to get the full 2-dose Shingrix series to protect herself from shingles after watching a close friend suffer through a painful outbreak. Before this consumer protection law took effect, Susan would have been hit with a steep $200 copay for each individual dose, costing her $400 total out of pocket. Today, Susan pays $0. She instantly keeps $400 in her retirement account to use for her everyday living expenses, while still keeping her full $2,000 annual cap completely intact for her other regular daily prescriptions. The key to navigating this is understanding how different vaccines are classified by Medicare. Routine seasonal shots like the annual flu shot, the updated COVID-19 vaccine, and the pneumonia shot are handled entirely under your Part B medical coverage. Meanwhile, specialized adult vaccines like shingles and RSV are handled strictly under your Part D prescription plan. While both tracks result in a net cost of $0 to you, they are processed through entirely different networks and billing channels. Speaking of strict cost controls, there is another critical daily medication that operates under its own highly specialized protective framework. That is the $35 monthly insulin cap, which integrates directly into your overall yearly limit. If you are a senior living with diabetes and you rely on covered insulin products to stay healthy, you qualify for this protection. The federal law dictates that no Medicare plan can charge you more than $35 for a single month's supply of any covered insulin product. Best of all, every single $35 payment you make absolutely does count toward fulfilling your $2,000 annual maximum. To ensure your insulin billing is handled accurately, complete these actions. First, log into the official Medicare Plan Finder tool before the year begins. Second, confirm that your specific brand of insulin, whether it is Lantus, Humalog, or another variant, is explicitly listed on your plan's formulary. Third, double-check your initial receipts to confirm that you are not being charged an upfront deductible for your insulin, because the $35 maximum applies even during the earliest deductible phases of the year. Fourth, track your monthly payments closely to ensure that $35 amount is being credited directly toward your total $2,000 true out-of-pocket limit. Let us look at the math for Robert, a 70-year-old living in Michigan who requires 2 insulin pens every month to manage his blood sugar. The retail cost for those 2 pens is $600 every single month. Because of this legal protection, Robert's out-of-pocket cost is slashed, to exactly $35 a month. That saves Robert $565 every single month, which adds up to an incredible annual savings of $6,780. Furthermore, when you multiply his $35 copay by 12 months, Robert pays a total of $420 for the entire year, because that $420 applies directly to his overall out-of-pocket cap. Robert only needs to spend an additional $1,580 on his other medications before every single prescription he takes becomes entirely free for the rest of the year. Your exact mechanical delivery system changes how this insulin is billed, though. If you use a traditional needle syringe or a disposable pen, your medication is processed through Medicare Part D. However, if you use an automated insulin pump, that device is classified as durable medical equipment, meaning the insulin is billed under Medicare Part B. Both options are strictly capped at $35 a month, but they flow through completely different parts of your insurance infrastructure. But what happens if your private insurance company suddenly decides to drop your specific medication from their approved list altogether, simply to avoid footing the bill? If that happens, you have a powerful legal weapon at your disposal called the Formulary Redetermination process. If you find out that your insurance company dropped a necessary medication from your plan's approved list for 2026, it means your out-of-pocket costs for that drug suddenly will not count toward your $2,000 cap protection. To fight back, you have a legal right to file a tiering exception or a formulary exception, forcing your insurance provider to cover the drug if your doctor can prove it is a strict medical necessity. To execute this appeal successfully, you must complete 4 clear actions in order. First, have your prescribing physician write a formal letter of medical necessity, explicitly stating that any alternative drugs currently on the plan's approved list would be dangerous or completely ineffective for your condition. Second, call your individual Part D plan directly and request an official coverage determination form. Third, submit your doctor's completed letter directly to the insurance plan's appeals department. Fourth, if the insurance company issues a denial, do not give up, but immediately file a Level 2 appeal directly to the government's appointed independent review entity, an organization known as Maximus. Let us look at how this saved Linda, a 68-year-old grandmother living in Georgia. Linda relies on a specialized COPD inhaler to breathe, but her private insurance company completely dropped that inhaler from their approved list for 2026. Without an exception, her costs would have jumped to the full retail price of $350 every single month, completely bypassing her $2,000 cap protection. That would mean paying a devastating $4,200 a year entirely out of pocket. By filing and winning her formulary exception, her plan was forced to cover the medication, placing it on Tier 3 with a predictable $47 monthly copay. Instead of $4,200, Linda pays just $564 for the entire year. That is a direct savings of $3,636 a year. And best of all, that $564 now legally counts toward fulfilling her $2,000 annual cap. The urgency of your health situation can change the entire timeline of this legal process. A standard insurance review takes up to 72 hours to process. However, if your prescribing doctor notes on the paperwork that your health or life is in immediate danger without the medication, you have the right to demand an expedited review, which forces the insurance company to render a binding legal decision within 24 hours. Now, while the $2,000 cap is a massive victory for millions of retirees, the reality is that for many seniors living on a tight fixed monthly budget, even $2,000 a year is simply too much money to shell out. This brings us to the payoff of the secret I promised you at the very beginning of our talk. It is called the Low-Income Subsidy, or more commonly, the Extra Help Program. If you qualify for this federal subsidy, you override the standard $2,000 cap entirely. The federal government steps in to subsidize your prescription plan directly, capping your total prescription drug costs at drastically lower statutory amounts, which look like roughly $4 for generic pills and $11 for brand name medications. To qualify in 2026, a single senior must have a monthly income under approximately $1,816 and total assets under roughly $17,000, while a married couple must have a monthly income under approximately $2,455. To secure this override, you must follow these exact steps. First, go to the official website at ssa.gov/extrahelp. Second, fill out the 10-minute online application, which is formal document form SSA-1020. Third, as you fill out the assets section, remember that you do not include the physical value of your primary home or your primary vehicle in the asset test. Fourth, once your application is approved, the Social Security Administration will automatically notify your Part D drug plan to permanently override your copays at the register. Consider David a 72-year-old retired truck driver in Nevada who lives on a fixed $1,500 monthly Social Security check. David takes 3 expensive brand name medications that would easily push him all the way to the standard $2,000 out-of-pocket cap every year. Under the standard rules, David would still have to find a way to pay that $2,000 out of his small budget by applying for and securing the Extra Help Subsidy. His 3 brand name medications are capped at exactly $11.20 each per month. That brings his total cost to $33.60 a month, which adds up to just $403.20 for the entire year. David saves an additional $1,596.80 below the standard $2,000 cap. Over 10 years of retirement, David keeps $15,968 safely inside his own wallet. Keep in mind that your state's medical assistance programs can completely eliminate the need to apply for this manually. If you are already approved for your state's Medicare savings program, whether that is QMB, SLMB, or QI to pay your monthly Medicare Part B premium, you are automatically deemed eligible for extra help by the federal government. You do not even need to file the Form SSA-1020 application because your D prescription drug discounts are triggered automatically behind the scenes. Let us recap everything we have uncovered today so you can protect your hard-earned retirement savings. We looked at how the new $2,000 out-of-pocket maximum completely destroys the old donut hole, protecting seniors like Richard from catastrophic brand name costs. We exposed the formulary trap, showing how off-label prescriptions and Part B clinic infusions are excluded from the cap, and why seniors like Mary need to verify their coverage early. We walked through the M3 P-smoothing program, which allowed John to break a massive January drug bill into a predictable monthly installment of $166.66. We revealed the vaccine loophole that saved Susan $400 on her shingles shots, and the $35 monthly insulin cap that tracks directly toward your overall yearly limit. We detailed the exact steps Linda took to win a Formulary Exception appeal when her plan dropped her medication, and finally, we broke down how David used the Extra Help override to smash his cost down to just a few $100 for the entire year. You do not have to drain your life savings just to stay healthy. By understanding the $2,000 cap and opting into the M3 P-smoothing program, you finally take the financial power away from the insurance companies and put it back in your own pocket. Subscribe. Share this with someone you know who's on Social Security or Medicare. I'll see you in the next one.